Welcome to the Creative Connectors, the show from Broadbrand, where we explore technology, creativity, and data to shape the future of marketing. I'm Shakier Groenewald, your host. I'm from Broadbrand, an AI and advertising agency, helping brands scale faster, smarter, and more creatively. Creative Connectors, it's a podcast where brands, data, and culture connect. And today we have with us Retha Harmse, the CEO from Inkfish. It's a boutique, agile, results driven digital marketing agency that's been solving real business problems since 2004. Retha, lovely to have you with us today. So, how's your day been thus far?
A bit up and down, as I told you guys offline. We're actually in the process of moving, but it's lovely to carve out some time to chat to you today. So thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you for finding the time. I mean, I know how stressful it is to move this time of the year and also still look after your day to day commitments. So, thank you for finding the time and meeting with us. So, I mean, is it the entire agency that's moving or what's happening there? You'll still be based in Johannesburg.
So interesting in terms of our agency, we are actually a fully remote agency even before COVID. I know that many people worked a little bit of remote and then they went hybrid, but Inkfish was actually fully remote since the beginning. So
Okay.
everyone will continue their day to day, almost not even notice that things are changing up. So the address, actually, if I can say, like, the address doesn't really influence. My husband and I still have to speak. We have some other ventures as well. Are we going to let the address stay Gauteng based, or are we going to move it to George? So that's still up for discussion. So I don't know yet, but for the staff members, the entire agency won't actually feel the difference in terms of this move.
Okay, no, that's great. I know that you guys opted to be a boutique agency. So, what does it enable you to do differently? You mentioned like your entire staff are fully remote, so it won't affect the turnaround time. So, tell us a bit about the origin.
So the origin of Inkfish, so as you've correctly stated, Inkfish has actually been around and registered since 2004, but we stepped in as new owners in 2020. So the business, unfortunately, was at a bit of a crossroads, I would say about 2 years back. And I won't go into details into it, but our finance person left us with only 9 Rand in the account. And my husband actually wanted to close it at that time. And he said to me, unless you want to give it a go. So I said yes. And 2 years later, we've turned the ship around, bigger, healthier, and more values aligned than ever. So if we say small by design, it's not just a tagline. You've mentioned this now nicely. It's almost a deliberate decision so that we can stay sharp and agile and deeply involved. So we always try and almost slot in like your in-person marketing team. So I almost want to call it deep partnership so that every client gets the feeling like they have a marketing partner on board and not just a account manager conveyor belt. But so that enables us so that if you see something and you realize, like I always tell people, like, will this make sense for this person? Let's say it's a building company. Maybe they don't really need social media, but they need other mock-ups and other exciting stuff so that we can be agile and quick to innovate for what the client's needs are.
Uh, I'm just thinking like in construction, a perfect thing would be like a trade workshop where they book a stand and
Yeah.
and
And for
actually have that
example,
hands-on demos.
demos and whether that's, for example, if they need more poster designs that they can put out if they are busy with construction at a specific site where your dentist won't need that because their site would always be at the same space. So yeah, we really try and meet the clients where they're at and meet them with what their needs are.
Okay, cool. I mean, also you mentioned your website. So you guys do everything from branding, content, social, web design, and through the funnel ad strategies. So, I mean, but if you had to pick like one secret sauce, what would be that? And I think you briefly touched on that just a few seconds ago. It's somehow you customize based on client.
Customize based on client and slot in like your specific marketing partner. So something else that is a bit of an interesting secret sauce that I can add is people often see the final outputs. They see the logo and the content on the website, but they don't actually see the behavioral strategy behind it all. So, something interesting, I actually don't know if the website mentions this, but I am actually a mental health dietitian that
Oh, okay.
specializes in behavior change. And then at this crossroads that I mentioned a bit earlier, when my husband asked me, unless you want to give it a go, um, where I realized that the behavior change in terms of someone, for example, needing to change their lifestyle from a diet perspective was actually so valuable when we're talking behavioral psychology side in marketing. So we always try and look at what is driving your buyers' decision making. Where are they emotionally connecting with the brand? So that's where we try and blend that psychology, behavior design, and digital tactics. So in terms of that, that is what gives our work teeth, I can say, and give us
Okay.
client results. So in terms of that, that's the one thing that I would say where it's a bit different than your typical agency because you just give them the deliverable, but they don't actually realize the reason why we're choosing, for example, this image is because it actually moves a buyer emotionally, and that's more going to result in terms of clicks, in terms of sales. And then lastly, the I tell people it's almost like a plug in-house team model type thing that we try and focus on when we're talking in terms of the client's needs. So we try embed into your ecosystem. If there's a shared Zoom channel, there's an Asana board, real-time feedback loops. But it's more than just the tools. I'm mentioning now some of the tools because I know we'll get into those exciting things in a bit, but it's a mindset. So your KPIs start to be our own KPIs, and we try and have that everything is strategic. The onboarding process, it's not just superficial. We try and align goals, clarify priorities, and stay responsive rather than being reactive. So I would say that in short is our secret sauce.
Okay, lovely. I mean, you touched a bit on psychology, and I mean, yeah, at Broadbrand also, we've also developed we also a MarTech company as well. So we develop like our own MarTech solutions that we also offer to clients as SaaS solutions as well. And one of the things that we've built recently is called Persake. And what it does is that it factors in persona-based targeting over and above your standard BT segments as well. And it integrates it into your CRM, your first party data, the third party data that you get from DV360 or Google's Ads Manager, etc., and collates all of that and adds a different layer of targeting and personalization as
That's
well.
amazing.
And that's where and I think that's also something that you've briefly touched on, like the psychology of marketing. Taking like I always think about president wearing a red tie for a specific announcement versus a blue and a yellow tie.
100%. 100%. And even brand colors to realize the psychology of which color you choose, what that actually conveys and what that means. So we have many different clients when we design their websites, when we realize, for example, the calmness. Let's use a example of a psychiatrist. If you're doing their website, you might think blue is cold, but it's also calming. So we need to get the balance between that. So it's definitely much more deeply layered than people anticipate if they're thinking, oh, I can just go on Canva and just type in website mockup. So we try and like align and bring all those elements together.
No, that's 100%. And I mean, what's interesting is that you mentioned like the AI in marketing, briefly. How does that affect your personalization, attention to fragmentation, etc.? How does Inkfish adapt to offer a response that fits the client's needs?
Definitely. I think the one thing that I do want to raise on AI, because I know that there are a few early adopters and we're getting we're not at early adopter stage yet. I think we are where the majority of people are starting to dabble in AI. And there are a big amount of people who then reason, why do we need to pay you full price if you're using AI? Or saying that we can replace you with AI. So shout out to my designers who I always tell them, Remember that you cannot, AI regurgitates information, they don't create. So the innovation is still something that needs to live with us, and the original thinking, we can use it to sharpen or test. So the way that I almost explain our approach with AI is that it's the co pilot, not the driver. So we are the
Yes.
people who leverage that and uses that so that we can be more agile, notice trends. Sometimes it's the human error, cognitive bias. You miss things and you see things where there maybe aren't things, where AI sometimes just helps point those things out, especially some of these systems. I'm thinking some of the, for example, meeting note takers. Like those things are amazing because then you have the entire transcript. So to the people who are maybe a bit worried about the influence of AI, the aspect that I just say is everyone was afraid of electricity, of the telephone, of email, of this and of that, and now we use it every single day. We can almost just stand on the shoulders of AI and do more. So, in terms of that, we try and use it to think about variations. You mentioned personalization in terms of maybe workflows and email funnels, drafting copy and variations and hooks. But again, why I'm saying shout out to my designers, it's only as good as your prompt is. So if you don't really know what you want, so that's why there's this massive focus on prompt engineering, making sure that you have such a robust and all-rounded prompt that what you actually get is not just you get a something quick, please write me caption and hashtags. It has to be a lot deeper than that. So to the people who like, why do we need to pay you full price? It's just something that simplifies it. I can type out every single thing if I want to, but if I have copy and paste, like it just simplifies life and then I can actually do more.
You guys navigate it. I was just saying, like many times I would do like a prompt on Chat GPT or Gemini, etc. And then I would need to spend a few times rereading it and then rewriting it. And then, so, I mean, also take some time just to make it sound and help you land the message that you want to land.
100%. And where you sometimes have to also understand that the way that someone reads this, because that's the other thing, we realize. I saw this interesting reel just a bit where they were saying AI is a bit of a buzzword, but if we're still going to jump on the AI bandwagon in a few months' time, people can actually see through that. So we also need to think about the aspects of connection. So, and that's the secret sauce, backing back to that, where you can get an entire platform that does everything for you. But sometimes when you're just having a struggle and you just want to speak with Susan over the phone, then it's so helpful to know that you're dealing with a real person. So, yeah, so in terms of that, I definitely do think that that is something that does make a difference. Your prompts need to be very robust, um, and it's something that can just make things easier. But the aspect of knowing that you're speaking to a human on the other side sometimes just helps a lot.
No, 100%. I mean, our whole positioning at Broadbrand is that it's human craftsmanship amplified by AI. Because there needs to be that human element to help you align what you get in the output with the audience that you're looking to reach and help them convert as well. And there's also that verification because then it's also about, are you on code or are you on CI? Are you on brand code? Are you landing the message correctly? So there's also that other layer that needs to happen, which you can't rely
100%.
completely on AI for. And you mentioned this about the buzzwords, etc. But I mean, as part of your full stack offering, I mean, like your branding, content, ads, etc. You also mentioned like your onboarding process is very structured, where you pre-identify the client's needs, where they're looking to go. So, I mean, what's the first layer of this that you then pull to help you diagnose the client's real need? Because sometimes the client themselves don't exactly know what their pain point is until they actually unpack and go into the discussion about it.
Definitely. And I think that this is where it really helps me that I've had 6.5 years of experience working in psychiatric hospital, where all my consultations and evaluations were often you can almost like see someone's pain point, if I can call it that, but just directly pointing it out. is not actually going to be the thing that leads to behavior change. So you need to get them to open up and trust and talk and get that out. And then slowly but surely actually show them that, hey, maybe this is something that we need to work on. Maybe this is something that we need to look at. So I think my clients would not be very happy if they realize that I sometimes psychoanalyze, but it's helpful if you just need to get to a point of saying, like, okay, I've read this amazing book that speaks about the types of working genius, and the one is wonder. And it's interesting. I feel that that's something that I very often do. So I would look at something and I would be like, there has to be an easier way that we can do this. So I think that that's where we maybe can definitely collaborate in terms of your service offerings in terms of AI, because I'm many times like, this has to, like, if we're talking taking minutes, for example, like taking minutes and realizing, oh, like I can definitely use that person better. My human resource can definitely do something else rather than wasting their time taking minutes. And that is where I try and do that with clients. So where we try and understand your business, let me think about that. Why is this a concern? Or even something as basic, and this is as far as we often go, where I tell the team we do what needs to be done. We have a client with an e-commerce store, but it's just so much effort for them, like just to do the admin side, because we do the website, but even just logging in and checking the offers, where we were saying, let's maybe hide everything on their dashboard, that they don't get confused, that they can just see this
So
simple view. But where I then said, you know what? We actually have another client who we are working with that has a dropshipping company that actually does that. Let me liaise with them to see what they would charge this other client. So it's also this network and connections. And then this person saying, oh my goodness, you can do that, and it's going to be this percentage more, or we restructure our package so that it's almost like the one service offering in as a whole. And then this person was like, yes, please. So sometimes you just realize, due to a person who's like, ugh, please, can you do this for me, something as stupid as posting on their socials, where they're like, you can send me everything and send me all the captions, but and think that you don't want to have their passwords and everything on your side. This is now very, like, many years ago where this was an issue, but realizing, just if you anticipate and look at a person's reaction based on a problem, that's also something that can tell you their pain points. So long story short, I know that sometimes their reactions, what are the things that they're struggling with? What is it that we can work with?
yeah. I mean, I've been taught a long time back the key to a good salesperson is listening and listening to the opportunities that the client gives you. So, I mean, there's many times that you need to read between the lines to actually identify what the actual need is.
Sometimes it's not going to be you who's going to be the one that maybe can address that pain point, but if you can just put them in contact with someone else who can actually do that, then it's one of those beautiful synergies. The client is happier, the other person is happier, and overall, like, all of that makes a massive difference. So yes.
It's like they say, happy wife, happy life. And in our industry, happy client, yeah,
Yeah,
happy
happy client,
days.
happy. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And I mean, ultimately, doesn't matter which service you use to deliver the media. At the end of the day, as long as the client is happy with the results that they receive in their deliverables and the KPIs, that's the only thing that matters to me at the end of the day. And I mean, it's quite interesting. Like you spoke about email marketing, website captions, on etc. On social media. What sort of AI tools are you using to help you identify like which sort of creative format would work best per medium? I noticed that you do quite a bit of email marketing. I mean, which tools are you using there? Is it standard text space? It's like a newsletter format. Also, social media. I mean, what's your thoughts on static versus video versus interactive creative?
Mm. Yeah, so in terms of AI tools, we really try and focus quite a bit on tailoring it per client. So 100% what you now mentioning, that it's not necessarily always going to be 100% that everyone is, or that the same tools are valid for everyone. So we really try and, for example, for email marketing, I have to say, like, some of the things have really upped their game, like email flows, for example. So and Canva, that has gotten, the designers are going to kill me now because I can't, I think it's Affinity that they've got on board. So they were always like, no, real designers don't use Canva. But where I told them, listen, guys, if this is going to be easier and this is going to save time, I want you to trial it. So I can definitely say from that point of view, I was now thinking, because the email marketing, we're definitely incorporating that into quick email flows. So that's really, really amazing. Your typical Gemini, ChatGPT, and Grok in terms of sometimes ideation. We also use things like, for example, Leonardo AI for your, what do you call it? Leonardo AI for image generation. So definitely quite a few different tools in that sense. So definitely an interesting mix. I feel that there's so many that I'm missing now, but I feel like it's
Yeah, like
always,
Nano Banana.
yeah, Nano Banana, like that's a lovely one. So in terms of social media, for example, use your metric calls. That's nice for analytics and planning and reporting. So that is something else that really makes a difference. Chat, we've incorporated that. I think off air in our previous meeting, we spoke about Zapier. So that's also a lovely one that we do. Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple tools. It's just about finding
Mhm.
the right one for the right solution at the end of the day. And I mean, you also briefly mentioned like many different formats, templates, etc., and flows. I mean, content fatigue, is that real?
Definitely.
Hmm? Yeah, and I mean, so do you have like a strategy? Do you have a strategy around like maybe incorporating some sort of dynamic creative optimization as part of your strategy? And how do you see that play out for clients' campaigns?
Yeah. So I always tell the team, data tell us what people want, but creative tells us how to stay in how we say that, and how do we stay in a place where it lands. You spoke about this a bit earlier. So we want to try and be useful and be human and be fast. And that's the small by design and being agile, so that if we can see this reel is getting a lot of reaction, that we almost analyze, what's the EOV again? Effect on the viewer. So to realize like those ones, like what is it that we are seeing, why this is performing well. And then we lean into format diversity, the reels, the carousels, the polls, micro blogs.
No,
So when we, I don't know if I already shared that data tell us what people want, but
yes,
creative tells us how do we say that and how do we communicate and stay in a place that lands it with the client. So that's where we would always look at, how is the reel, for example, if there's a reel that's performing so well, this is where I spoke about the hook. Is it the hook that's really engaging? Is it, for example, satisfaction? Is it the effect on the viewer? What is actually making this land? Then we try and lean into, for example, format diversity, so that we're not just a one trick pony that do reels or carousels or polls or micro blogs. This is now in terms of socials. But when we're talking email marketing, I saw this one a while ago. This was fascinating. It's a optometrist that sent out an email that says, the subject line says something like, "Hey, Yuan." And then you're like, "I'm not Yuhan." And then you click on it, and then they say, "We know that you're not Yuhan." And then I was like, "That's brilliant." So for some of the people, it may have been that, but I'm like, "Listen, you made a mistake here," but it made me click. Where some of the other emails, unfortunately, I know we use email marketing, but sometimes I just delete, just like get that out of my inbox, clean it, or just mark as read, where they made me click because I'm not Johan. Sometimes using interesting things like that, so that it's not just all of the same cookie cutter mold, because that is unfortunately a thing. For sometimes people want to stay on brand, but then everything starts to look the same and monotonous. Especially, for example, if you do content batching days when you take a lot of photos, but then you get here to the end where you're recycling and reusing photos, and then people just think, "Oh, I've seen that before." So that's something that makes it really hard. So we try and aim for relevance through behavior driven messaging, so that we,
and
you've clicked this quite a bit. This is something that people resonate with. And then also sometimes realizing those vanity metrics are sometimes not enough to tell us whether this is why we try and align with the client KPIs. Okay, you went viral this month. Did you get more sales? Or did people just say, that's cute? I know that many times photographers complain about this. Other photographers like them so that they can use some of their ideas. So the messaging has to be a little bit different. Like, why do you want to go viral? Do you just want to go viral because that's what everyone is saying and that's good and it's like to see 2 million views? Versus if it is, am I getting more sales? What does that look like in terms of, that's why we try and slot in so that we don't just fall for those vanity metrics.
I mean, it depends on the client's KPIs. You're 100% correct about that. But I mean, I also think about the long and short of it. I'm sure you're familiar
Yes.
with that. Like, so I mean, would that not contribute to the long-term branding?
So that does definitely the direct versus indirect marketing and being established as a leader in the field, sparking curiosity. Also talking about, are you like target audience wise? For example,
Mm.
the long and the viral and the quick views are definitely going to get, for example, maybe more your Gen Zs and your millennials. But if you want to like access your Gen X or boomers, it might be a little bit of a different approach. So there's definitely space for both, where I often just find it very helpful to tell clients that we are not just aiming for example, if we posting funny cat videos and get millions of views from that, but that actually doesn't tell us anything about your company.
Mm.
So that's something that we try and steer the middle path for.
Mm.
Something might work for one industry and one niche, but maybe not for another. So, but it is a
Yeah.
very good point that you're raising.
Yeah. I mean, as part of our ad tech solutions, we do AI creative ad optimization.
Mm,
And with that, we essentially it's a DCO on steroids, but
mm.
with an ad tech layer built in where it actually scores and does a creative scoring in real time while the campaign is live. So depending on the image or the carousel or the positioning of the image, the copy, the variants, etc., we could engage and then optimize towards the best performing variant to then limit waste and increase performance. So we always position ourselves as a brand as a performance metrics because brand is a big part of getting the client to click. So that's why I also think about like the vital part. It's a good opportunity. So how do you use that vital part and plug in a
Mm.
campaign alongside that to tackle the short term goals?
Lovely. And the thing that I raise, especially with that, is that's where it's quite helpful if you have someone that has, for example, something has gone viral, but a person gets a profile visit and there's nothing else that actually aligns. And that's that perfect saying that they say your preparation needs to be done when opportunity comes knocking. So it's also this thing like, so I love what you're saying that if you're going viral, you need to plug in a campaign alongside that so that it's not just viral for the sake of viral. And I often use the example, I don't know if you can remember this, maybe this is a super Afrikaans thing, but the Higu Bali Polisi, when there was this massive fight and everyone was talking about Higu Bali Polisi, and it was a viral clip that went around where I'm like, how is it that we can use that? For example, Telkom could have used that, like Bali Polisi or Vodacom or whoever, or the police, or we're faster than the police
Yeah.
response, whatever the case may be. So I'm thinking that those are opportunities that brands miss. I'm thinking, for example, Taylor Swift's engagement, where many people could have been like in engagement companies could have jumped on that bandwagon. Many of them
Yeah.
did. But it's also about how you do this in terms of cultural relevance. So, but yes, definitely you
Yeah.
can use
I
viral
think
in
I
a
think the perfect example there is Nando's. Like they are like the
definitely
yeah.
amazing. Definitely. And I think that that's one of those things where if you have a company like that that you can almost emulate without copying. There's a beautiful book I know that many art students read it, it talks about like steal like an artist. So if you can almost like
Yeah.
emulate people who you admire, but Nando's, I agree with you, such a great example.
Yeah, I mean they've got a great team, and it's on the ball there as well. Yeah, but I mean, I'm like, we've answered quite a bit of the questions that we prepared in just
Mhm.
our conversation, which I think was amazing. And I mean, we also covered a lot more than expected. But I mean, in wrapping up, I mean, I'd like to ask, like, what is one of the bold predictions that you have within the state of marketing over the next 5 years, considering predictive AI, language-based AI? Yeah, I mean, what's your prediction in the near future?
So interesting. I think that many companies almost take on the view that AI will replace marketing, where I have a bit of a different view. I think that marketing will become experience design. So the brands that will survive will seamlessly integrate into buyers' journeys, not just running ads. So I think that this is where AI will really enable us to stand on the shoulders of AI, but still that it is experience from beginning to end and a human connection aspect to it. From the first click to the final checkout, the experience is the product. So that is where I think where if you're a good marketing agency, where the secret sauce will lie.
100%. 100%. I mean, it's also interesting, like you mentioned, you have a commerce client as well. And
Mm,
I mean, I'm sure you're using TikTok Shop, using quite a bit of meta commerce tools, there's Shopify, there's so many opportunities there. I mean, what do you think of WhatsApp commerce? Is there space for it? Do you think the South African market's ready for it? I mean, considering the cybersecurity.
So from a cybersecurity point of view, I know that that's why people are very hesitant towards it. But if we're thinking, so not all of the commerce that we're speaking about is that high ticket items that, like, let's use an example of something. Yes, so it's not necessarily a smart TV, but I'm thinking, for example, if you thinking, for example, street vendors, if I'm thinking like the massive adoption that we've seen with, for example, your food delivery. I was thinking about this a while ago when someone said Scooter's Pizzas in South Africa again. Then I'm like, shame, Scooter's Pizza were one of the first people who actually delivered your pizza to your door, but now they're competing with your Uber, with your Mr. Delivery, with your Dash, with your Zulzi, with Checker 6060. So in terms of that is where I definitely do think as well, something like a WhatsApp commerce, whether that's a small ticket item and actually getting people who will not have access to a big web build and maybe has only one small product until they actually scale and become bigger. So I,
It's interesting you mentioned that because I mean, as part of Broadbrand, we're part of a bigger group called the Digital Solutions Group, and we've
mm,
got a CXG, which is the Customer Experience Group. That we
yes,
manage call centers, QSR call centers, financial call centers, and we build quite a bit of CRM integration, and of course chatbot functionality, community management. And as
yes,
part of that, we've also got like a WhatsApp community manager as well, where it's completely there's like three different models where you could essentially have a scripted or prompted response to the chat functionality, or you could have a hybrid where it's a AI driven chat functionality and you have an option to pull in a real person. And then there's
yeah,
fully automated one where you could then the AI learns and predicts how to then interact with the person. And if there is
mm,
really an issue, then only it passes it on to the real person. So I mean, it
yeah,
also speaks to like your solutions. And with that, there's also a plugin where you could have a WhatsApp commerce functionality. Because I mean, you're
mm,
sitting on hundreds of thousands of contact numbers on your database, on your
yeah.
CRM. How do you utilize that and plug it in within your email marketing strategy?
Also, how do you nurture those clients? Because I do
Yeah.
think that many times people overthink, like um, what are the elements that actually will make people. Sometimes it is just a quick check in, like, because I know as a mom, sometimes you think of something and you so those abandoned cart emails that you sometimes get. Hey, you put this in your cart. Um, were you still thinking about it? Then I'm like, oh yes, I've never ordered that. Yes, please. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing when you realize like that many of these tools can actually help achieve that. So that's amazing.
And it's also about reaching the audience where they're at as well, which I think is also very important in the environment that they're comfortable in. Because I mean, it's an
Yeah.
interesting fact. Like, I mean, a lot of the digital payments in Africa, specifically Kenya, WhatsApp is like the highest payment or go to digital commerce channel as well. So it's just interesting on the mindset of different regions.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, in conclusion, I mean, thanks so much for your time. I'd like to ask you, like, how would you like our listeners to get in touch with Inkfish? I mean, would they reach out via your email, LinkedIn pages?
So Inkfish, we are on LinkedIn, so you're welcome to send us a message then. We have someone monitoring the page. So if messages do come in, we do respond within a day. You are welcome to reach out to either myself or our COO. So my email address is Reta@inkfish.digital. And then
And
my COO's email address is bernalee@inkfish.digital. And both of us respond at least within a day. So if there's anything specific that you need or a quote that you want to get, so we redid the website, but we're in the process of redoing it again. The process of always auditing and seeing like the consumer journey. So if we do this for our clients, let's do it for ourselves as well. Do it like a sales audit, just double check, is everything okay? And then noticing maybe we need to adjust that. Just because we can make
yeah,
everything move, we don't have to make everything move. So in terms of that, but if you there's also a little space there where you can leave us a message, book a discovery call. So we're always happy to have a chat and just see how we can help you meet your needs.
no, lovely, lovely. I mean, it's also interesting. And I mean, yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with Broadbrand, you know how to reach us. Visit broadbrand.co.za. And this podcast will be available on our Spotify channel, Creative Connectors, and via our Creative Connectors YouTube channel as well. And yeah, we look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you.
And
No, I
thank you
look
so
forward
much
to
for
it.
being such a lovely guest
Thank you. No,
and
it's
very
lovely.
insightful as well.
No, lovely. And we'll definitely chat again.
Cool, cool. And all the best with your move. I know it's a tough um, transition this time of the year, but like you said, you've done mental health psychology as well. So I'm sure that if anyone else can manage this, it's you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Cool, cool. Thanks so much and take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Creative Connectors, the place to reflect, where data, culture, and